Hey everyone, my name is Sam and thanks for checking out this video. Make sure to hit the subscribe button down below, hit the bell notification, and give the video a thumbs up. By the way, don't ask questions. This video is coming out on Canada Day. I basically don't own red, so I thought, what's the most Canadian thing I could wear? That would be... is my hair covering it? No, I think you can see. Sidney Crosby is the captain of the Pittsburgh Penguins, NHL, hockey team. He's super attractive too. I mean, I'll put a picture of him there if you have no idea who I'm talking about, but I mean, he always lets us basically make sure that we win gold in the Olympics. Well, I guess not anymore because the NHL doesn't. Oh my god, that's a show on its own. So let's just talk about the books I plan on reading this month. First, and I will be burned at the freaking stake if I don't read this by my friends, I'm going to get started on my arc for The Iron Flower by Laurie Forrest. This is the sequel to The Black Witch Chronicles, and I assume there's lots of rebellion going on here based on how the first book ended. Then I plan on getting to My Plain Jane by Cynthia Hand, Brody Ashton, and Jody Meadows. I'm impressed that I can keep all those names straight, all three of them, every single time. But this is the companion sequel to My Lady Jane, where we follow the gothic retelling of Jane Eyre by these very, very funny women, and I assume there's some historical comedy going on in here. I hope also to get to City of Bastards this month by Andrew Schwartz. This is the second book, the sequel to Royal Bastards. Well, my mind went blank there. And once again, probably I assume it follows the Rebels. There's a ragtag team of Royal Bastards that things went down at the end of the first book. And lots of it was not wrapped up. So I assume that's where they're going to go with this one. Then I'm getting to Saint's Blood by Sebastian de Castell. This is the third book in the Greatcoats Quartet, and it follows, I never say his name right. I feel so bad. It specifies in the audiobook too when I listened. Felicio. I think that's right. But they call it, or maybe it's Falcio. Oh god, I remember one's right, one's wrong. I don't remember which one's which. I'll go with Falcio. I think that's right. But it follows them in lots went down at the end of the second book. And there's been a big kind of war, kind of looming, power grab. Things are just very up in the air. And we had kind of some resolution. One of those Greatcoats kind of became a god, which is a story in its own. But yeah, highly suggest that. Definitely going to get to this book this month. They just get bigger and bigger each book. I love when authors do that. And I'm so excited to keep going here. And hopefully there'll be a little bit of resolution because, like, they just do so much adventuring and so much bad stuff happens, especially to Falco. He's such a good person, or tries to be at least such a good person, and the world is not working with him. Then I am getting to Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Eames. I actually had the opportunity to meet him and Sebastian de Castell in January, and he was incredibly nice. And the second book actually comes out, I think it's called like Blood Rose, comes out in... want to say October. I'm not 100%. It's coming out like in the next year or so though. But it's kind of like a, you know when like old bands all of a sudden have a comeback and you're like, wow, they did not age well. Like Jagger and all those ones. Basically. It's like that in night form, and there's lots of humor in it from what I can tell. But everyone that I know that's read it has said there's very like Sebastian de Castell vibes. Partially the reason because he gave his manuscript to Sebastian de Castell, and he helped him get it published. So I'm really excited because I love Sebastian de Castell's writing, and my friend Melanie has read it, and she really, really, really loved it. She's the one that actually made me get it when I was at the signing. So I'm hoping I like it. I really like the darkness of the cover as well. It looks very video game-esque as well. But there's like ragtag team of knights that are out of their prime trying to do things that they probably couldn't have even done when in their prime. So I have a feeling I'm going to hate myself for starting another one of his series. But I'm going to start working on Storm Dancer by Jay Kristoff. This is the first book in the Lotus War trilogy. To be fair though, I at least have all three books and all three books are out. So I am anticipating cliffhangers. However, I have the solutions right here on my shelf called book 2 and 3, hopefully. So I'm really excited to give this one a go. I know honestly nothing about this other than it's supposed to be a strong main female character, which is pretty normal for Jay Kristoff. So I'm really excited about this. It's also blurred by Patrick Rothfuss, which I was kind of like, wow. Like, I've never actually read Patrick Rothfuss, but I know actually, somewhere on my shelf. I have the anniversary edition, which is like $80 in Canada, of Patrick Rothfuss's Name of the Wind, I think, which I'm going to try and get to soon. So hopefully I enjoy this one and that one. Because I am enjoying this totally trash, summery, contemporary read series, I plan on getting to Rich People Problems by Kevin Kwan. This is the third and sadly final book in the trilogy. I believe it's supposed to follow Nicholas's grandmother passing, and it keeps kind of being hinted at in the past books, especially in the second book, that if he did not leave Rachel, that his mother or his grandmother was going to disinherit him, and, you know, she's going to be dying soon, kind of thing. So, I think she's on her deathbed in this book, and that's where things go. I am also hoping to get more of Kitty, because the freaking second book, oh my god, I'm in love with Kitty. I don't know why. I just love her. And Astrid, man, I hope she gets some resolution, because, I hope she ends up with, I don't want to spoil it, but I hope things went down at the end of the second book. I'm glad she finally left that person, but I hope she doesn't go back the way she did at the end of the second book, or the end of the first book, and that she does have another option. So I'm really excited about that. And then in August, I'm going to reread Crazy Rich Asians and get ready like a couple days before the movie and go see the movie on premiere night. I'm so excited. Total trash for the series. If you like summary drama series, this is a good one to do. I also plan on stabbing myself in the heart this month by finishing the Harry Potter series, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows by J.K. Rowling. I honestly don't even know that I finished this book the first time I read it. It's been quite a while, because someone spoiled me, and I was like, oh, well, if that's how it ends, then, like, why, like, I'll just go read something else now. So, I'm gonna do I don't even know if reread's the right word, but I'm gonna read Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, and watch every character I love, basically, die, except for Hermione and Luna. And Neville. I'm cool with Neville. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, last book in the series, and then I'm gonna probably, like, marathon the movies. Maybe take a couple days off from work and marathon movies. That's what responsible adults do. Then I am getting to Thunderhead by I don't know if it's Niall or Neil. Neil Schusterman. This is the second book in the arc of the Scythe series. And if you haven't read the first one, I would really highly recommend it. It's a very interesting world. The first book was a little bit slow for me in the first like third or so. I struggled a little bit. And then it really picked up. I really, really enjoyed it at the end. Also, I just noticed a couple weeks ago that there's faces on these covers. Like, inside of, like, between the hood and the side. I did not notice that for, like, a year that I owned the first book. The first book has the same thing. I'm so blind. Anyways, this world where basically all, like, problems that cause death have been solved. So, we have Scythe that will run statistics and make sure to keep control over the population number, because you don't want to overpopulate and then everyone dies. And the first book, our main character takes on these apprentices to become scythes, and one of them is supposed to eventually become a scythe, and things go down at the end of the first book. There's an awesome I love you scene, which is probably one of my favorite scenes ever in a book, and I'm just so excited. So I'm going to give this one a go, and I have a feeling I'm going to want to reread the first book, because I get a feeling from his writing that he, like, leaves tidbits, I have a feeling, or there are things that I'm going to understand better in this book once I reread the first book. So, I mean, logically, I know I could just reread the first book and then read this one, but I don't have time for that, okay? I should have planned that out better, and I just don't. So, that's what's happening. My dog is giving me the most judgmental look right now. Just eye rolled at me. Wow. Talk about a spoiled poodle. Then I am finally getting to Between Two Fires by Mark Noss. Mark Noss. This was recommended to me like probably close to a year ago by someone in the Owl Crate Society, I want to say. I was asking for historical fiction recs. And it's set in like Wales, Ireland. I always mix those two up, and I know that's really bad to do. Wales, medieval Wales. And that's really all I know. I remember reading this summary like a year ago, I mean, like, that's probably up my alley. And it's actually not big. I'm actually pretty surprised at the size of it, so I'm going to give it a go. I think it's one that I probably really enjoy. And I think it's a historical standalone, which I appreciate those. A lot of the times they just go into this like, oh, we're going to have a series about War of the Roses. And you're like, oh, that'll just be one book. And you're like, no, girl. You don't know anything about English Civil War, do you? Man, I'm going to look like a moron if that turns out to be part of a series. Ooh. I also plan on rereading Sky in the Deep by Adrienne Young. She's going to be in the TBR and Beyond book group this month doing a live, or not this month, yeah, this month, in July, doing a live chat. This is a Viking YA. I read the e-arc of it and I actually really enjoyed it. I think I ended up giving like a 3.5. However, it was an e-arc and I have a hard time reading e-arcs a lot of the time. So that might have influenced, but I actually really enjoyed it. Like, 3.5 kind of sounds low sometimes, but, like, there are just certain things I was like, that didn't make sense, or, like, I wish I had gone darker. I also didn't realize there was going to be, like, a companion, I don't think. There's, like, a companion or sequel or something, so I'm really curious to see how that's going to go. But it follows our main character, oh my god, I'm blanking on her name, Elin. Maybe I should listen to the audiobook along, just to make sure I pronounce that right, because of the names. But her clan has essentially been kind of continuously feuding with another one, and in like 6 years ago, her brother was killed in a battle, and then in present day, she's in a battle, and she sees her brother fighting for the other side, and she gets kidnapped by that clan, and things go down, and there's some romance, and there's some survivalist, and there's some political conflict, and then there's some clan, like, combining, and then rebellion and battling, and there's a big battle at the end, and yeah, that's probably the most non-spoiler way I could describe this book. So I'm going to read it, and if you want to listen to the author, be in the TBR and Beyond book group, which will be linked in my bio. I am finally, after owning this book for probably a year and a half now, going to read Of Fire and Stars by Audrey Coulhurst. I heard very, like, mediocre, not positive things about this, but I've owned the book for forever, and there's a prequel story that's come out, and I really like the cover. Ink Mistress, I think it is, and then they released the cover for the second book. I originally thought this was supposed to be a fantasy standalone. Maybe it was, and then it just changed. But they released the cover for the sequel, and I was like, I really like that cover. I need to know if I should be planning to buy these or not. So, because, I own the first book. If I like the first book, just buy the rest of them off me. I also know there's it's a lesbian romance, like the royalty, she gets arranged marriage to, or she's betrothed to some prince. She shows up in the kingdom that's not supposed to have any magic, where it's like very bad to have magic, and all of a sudden she has magic and she has no control over it, and then she falls in love with her betrothed sister, I believe it is, who is this like knight in shining armor kind of thing. I'm really, really excited to give this one a go, and hopefully it'll be to my reading taste if it wasn't for everyone, all the other people's. Very eagerly, I'm going to be reading Cadaver and Queen this month by Alyssa Whitney. She has a very weird last name, Whitney. I'm not even making that up. It's not, I don't even think it's a typo either. It's a real last name. I honestly to God don't remember the bio of this story, but I know there's like, it's a fantasy with royalty and like science-y stuff. I'm all for it. I impulse bought it, pre-ordered it actually, months ago, and actually the few people I know that have read it said it was really good, so I'm going to give this go. It's pretty short too, so, and it's a standalone as well, which is pretty rare in fantasy. Then I'm going to get to Stars Above and the first graphic novel of Wires and Nerves this month. Both of them are by Marissa Meyer. This is our kind of short story bound up for the Lunar Chronicles, and this is the continuing story of Aiko, which is the robot best friend of Cinder. After how much I loved A Gathering of Shadows, I am definitely getting to A Conjuring of Light this month, and I am currently in the process of debating whether or not to buy the UK covers, even though it takes forever to get anything from Book Depository in Canada, but I love the UK covers. They're so cool. I feel like these ones are actually not bad, but I feel like these ones much more vibe with how I see the world, and like the cape and everything like that, and the jacket. But I'm really curious to see where this is going to go. I haven't even read the summary because I'm just like was so floored by how the first book the second book ended, and I imagine there's going to be a big fight and power grab going down, and I'm curious what's going to happen with all the Londons. I don't think they're going to stay separate or say kind of cut off from each other. I'm hoping / praying that the Black London gets destroyed and everything in it, but I feel like in the YA world, that's just like immense fantasy dreaming, because that never happens. Then I'm continuing my reread of the Outlander series with Drums of Autumn. It's been quite a while since I read this one, but I feel like of all of them, this is probably the one that I have the most memory of, and it takes place in, I don't want to say because it ruins Voyager. Okay, I'm not saying anything about this, but it just continues where Voyager ends in a different geographical place. And yeah, the movie or the TV season of this hasn't even come out. I can't spoil it. Yeah, so there's Roger and Brianna are there, and Claire and Jamie, and they just try and survive, as is the entire story of the Outlander series. And last but not least, I plan on doing a reread of Gunslinger Girl by Litsy. She is going to be in the TBR and Beyond book group as well, chatting about it. I read this book before. I was very hesitant of it because there's a little bit of a Western vibe, obviously, from a cover, but it's really not. It's more of a science fiction dystopian set in like a Wild West setting, but for the most part, it really isn't much of a Western. But our main character lives with her pretty abusive father. Her mother has since died, and her father is trying to marry her off to some crazy religious culty people, I think. And so she makes a break for it and runs away to flee that, and she takes with her mother's pistols, and she, along the way, gets picked up by these, I don't know what to call them, but they're like traveling people that work for like kind of a sanctuary area, and they pick her up while she's kind of fleeing to help her and bring her to the sanctuary area where she stays, and things, you know, she finds out about the sanctuary and everything that's there. There's a little bit of romance. I didn't love the romance, but I like how the romance ended. Like, the book ended with it. So, yeah, I actually really enjoyed this. I'm kind of looking forward to giving it a reread and chatting with the author about it, for sure. So, if you were hesitant to pick this up because it is a Western, don't let that deter you. And it's really cool, too. It's James Patterson Presents, and I'm all for all of his imprints, all the books that he's releasing his imprint. So, yeah. So those are all the books that I plan to read in the month of July. Let me know in the comment section down below what you plan on reading, and if you've read any of these and what you thought of them, especially ones that I haven't read. I'd love to know. Sometimes it's good to know going in of, oh, okay, be prepared for this, or prepare for your heart to be broken, or, you know, that's what, you know, every J. Kristoff book should come with, like, a disclaimer of, be prepared for your heart and head to hurt at the end of it. Don't read a J. Kristoff book without having all of the other books in the series with you, and 3 days to read them all. Anyways, check the description down below for links to all of these books as Goodreads pages, as well as links to all of my social media, and have a happy and safe Canada Day, or if you're in the US, I think July 4th is your day, so have a happy and safe one of those. I don't know, do you guys call it July 4th or something else? Like US Day or something? I don't know. Anyways, make sure to follow me on social media. If you follow me, I will follow you back.